Velasco, and thank you for reading.
Manny Pacquiao, the gold, I don't think there'll be a problem for Manny.
Has its share of great fights. But every once in a while, human mind can also be controlled and nothing. Again, happy nothing.
Only here para sa bayan.
That's the opening bell for Round by Round, presented by Eastern Communications. Mabuhay Pilipinas, welcome world. I'm EC Casiano.
And I'm Ryan Sanglia. Boyd Seastone joins us later on in the show.
Another legendary career has come to an end. Around 12 noon Philippine time on Wednesday, September 29, Manny Pacquiao announced his retirement from the sport of boxing.
I never thought that this day would come. As I hang up my boxing gloves, I would like to thank the whole world, especially the Filipino people, for supporting Manny Pacquiao. Goodbye, boxing. I just heard the final bell. Tapos na ang boxing. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. God is gold all the time. Thank you.
Through a video posted on his official Facebook page, he was quoted saying, "Goodbye, boxing." He then proceeded to thank the people behind his success, including Freddie Roach, Boboy Fernandez, Bob Arum, and the late Rod Nazario. Pacquiao retires from boxing with a record of 62 wins, 8 losses, and 2 draws, with 39 victories by way of knockout. Pacquiao has captured multiple world titles in 8 different weight classes, the only boxer in history to do so. He was hailed Fighter of the Year 3 times by both the Ring Magazine and the Boxing Writers Association of America. The Boxing Writers Association of America also awarded Pacquiao with the Fighter of the Decade citation. Aside from the world titles and awards, Pacquiao was long rated as the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world. Pacquiao now puts his whole focus on his political career. Most recently, he announced his candidacy for next year's presidential elections. Tune in tomorrow night on Round by Round as we discuss the legacy of Manny Pacquiao inside the boxing ring. Over the weekend, Alexander Usyk defeated Anthony Joshua via unanimous decision to become the unified heavyweight champion. Ryan, many were surprised that Usyk was able to prevail over Anthony Joshua. But to me, it's not surprising because Usyk has the credentials to back it up. He's a former undisputed cruiserweight champion and an Olympic gold medalist, plus the fact that he possesses an outstanding boxing skills. In your book, can you categorize it as an upset, or is it safe to say that people are just upset that Usyk spoiled the party because if Joshua had won, he could have put himself in line for a fight against the winner of Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3?
Well, was it an upset in terms of the odds? Absolutely, because Usyk, while he was a great cruiserweight, had kind of fought to the level of his opposition since coming up to heavyweight. He had some pretty dicey moments against Derek Chisora, who showed that his size could give Usyk some things to worry about. But there's nothing wrong with a guy coming in there fighting the fight of his life and winning the heavyweight championship. That's what boxing's about. It doesn't matter what happened the fight before or the fight before that. When the bell rings, that's when we find out who really is the best. And Usyk really stepped up his game. He fought like a guy who's trying to win the heavyweight championship. And Joshua understands this better than anyone because he's been on that side of an upset before when Andy Ruiz beat him. When guys fight for the heavyweight championship, they become better than they had been before, and that's what happened. But was this the upset of the year? I don't think it was the upset of the week. Kenshiro Taraji getting
Yeah.
stopped in 10 rounds by Masamichi Ibuki. That was a way bigger upset if we're talking about like where expectations were, because everyone knew Usyk was a real live fighter. He had been undisputed cruiserweight champion. I don't think anyone expected Ibuki to come in there and defeat Taraji.
Now, Ryan, does it still make sense for Anthony Joshua to face either Fury or Wilder, or should he get a rematch first against Usyk to put him back in the conversation?
I think there is a rematch clause in, even though it's kind of weird. I think this is a new thing, because before mandatory fights you didn't have rematch clauses, but I believe that there is. Would anything be different in a rematch? I don't know that anything would be different, because someone had said something like, "Oh well, Joshua can go out there and box and move the way he did against Andy Ruiz. Yeah, maybe Alexander Usyk will put on 15 pounds of pizza like Andy Ruiz did for the rematch, and that will work, right?" I don't know that I don't think anything would be different if they had a rematch. That said, Joshua is such a big name and star especially in the UK, that I don't think a loss really makes that much of a difference. I think that if Tyson Fury gets through his business with Deontay Wilder and they can make some business, they would still do huge numbers in the UK. Why add another loss to his momentum? He's coming off of a great fight, even if it wasn't a victory. Why have another loss against Usyk or risk another loss? If the fight can happen, make it happen. Go right now, pull the trigger.
Just for the sake of comparison, to you, which was more devastating for Anthony Joshua, the loss to Usyk or the loss to Andy Ruiz?
I would say the loss to Usyk, just because it seemed like Joshua was at his best and he just couldn't get it done against Usyk. Again, I was there when Andy Ruiz pulled off the upset, and it was surprising for sure. But Joshua looked like he had Ruiz hurt, and he was about to finish him off. And then he walks into some big shots, and then he goes down, and it was never right after that. That could have happened to anyone, really, especially someone who was being reckless while trying to finish a guy. Here, it just looked like he had bad strategy from the gate. He was fighting down to the size of a cruiserweight. He was trying to outbox a master boxer instead of going out there and saying, "Listen, I'm 250 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal," and going to the body and breaking this guy down like he was in the middle rounds.
Well, Ryan, these days the heavyweight division is intriguing, and I believe it's way better than the years when the Klitschko brothers dominated the weight class. Now that Usyk is now in the picture, do you think it got more interesting?
I don't know, honestly. It's always great. I enjoy him as a personality in boxing. Like he has this almost like this Andy Kaufman type of appeal, where he's like,
good comparison.
Did you see what he said after the fight? I am very feel heavyweight champions. Like, I don't know what that means, but you're a first ballot Hall of Famer just for that. In terms of excitement, I don't know that you can. In terms of star power, I don't know that Usyk against Tyson Fury is a bigger fight than the Tyson Fury against Anthony Joshua. But everyone loves to see an underdog go out there and win a heavyweight championship, and he earned this. So I don't know. I don't know that it's a bigger division as a result, but it's certainly something that happened, and I'll always enjoy his interviews.
Just the last question to end this discussion. Do you see Usyk fighting either Fury or Wilder after this one?
I think that this is going to be the issue for Usyk, is that it was easier to make the business work with Joshua because, Matchroom and, they have the relationship with the Zone. With Joshua, he was such a big star that people would work across the aisle. I don't know that Usyk is a big enough star, and I don't know that he has a style that people would want to get in the ring with. Like a guy like Deontay Wilder, who's kind of wild and reckless, if he's able to beat Tyson Fury, I would look at Usyk and say, hell no. Like, he's going to look ridiculous. Even if he wins the fight, because he throws more punches or whatever, he's going to look bad because that's why Anthony Joshua wasn't throwing his jab that hard, because he didn't want to like risk overcommitting, and then even if he misses, he's going to look awkward and off balance, and that's not going to help him with the judges. And the worst is that he can get canceled. So I'm sorry, canceled. He can get countered. So no, that's definitely the issue that Anthony Joshua was having. How much more would it be for Deontay Wilder? Now, when we talk about Tyson Fury's 6'9", and I don't know that it would be such an awesome fight to watch a 6'9" guy boxing and move. You know what I mean?
Size difference.
Yeah, it would be kind of weird, I think.
Yeah. It's time for our fearless forecast of the day, presented by Eastern Communications. As The Rock would say it, finally, because it's happening on October 9, Tyson Fury will face Deontay Wilder for the third time, with the WBC and the Ring Magazine heavyweight titles on the line. Ryan Sangalia, your fearless forecast.
You put me on the spot like that, I should lay the smack down on you. I'm going to go with Tyson Fury, and I think he's going to do it easier. I think he's going to do it quicker, because Wilder has had all these excuses, and I think that's just the sign of his confidence, was that he was indestructible, and he can't process, or hasn't processed, why this happened in the rematch. So I think that him not coming to terms with these things is going to work against him. I think that Tyson Fury will land some punches early on and will remind Wilder that, no, listen, there's no egg weights, there's no Voltron costume to the ring, there's no reverse black bottle, and I think he'll get it done earlier.
And that's our Eastern Communications fearless forecast of the day. The last 2 years haven't been ideal for Donny Nietz. Much of it was because of the pandemic. To compound the misery, Ala Promotions closed its doors last year. Ryan, do you think he wouldn't be in this uncertainty if not for his decision to vacate the WBO Super Flyweight title that he won from Kazuto Ioka on New Year's Eve of 2018?
I thought that was such a terrible decision. I know that it was Nietz who put out the post and on Facebook announcing it. I don't know what level of involvement Ala had in that discussion, but it was a terrible, terrible decision, because Nietz was a guy that, why would you fight him if he didn't have a belt? Yeah, he was not a big star, but he was also a very kind of tricky fighter to fight sometimes. He was an unheralded legend, and I didn't understand the decision making, because all right, he goes out there, Nietz and Plicte. Don't get me wrong, Aston Plicte gave him some difficulties, and the reason why he didn't want to do a rematch with Aston Plicte, and I know Nietz wasn't comfortable beforehand with fighting another Filipino, which I don't understand that mentality. It's once the bell rings, it's just another guy trying to take your head off. Doesn't matter where he's from. Aston Plicte goes out there and they had a good fight, but I thought Nietz edged it, right? So how bad does it look then that, all right, the vacant title, it winds up Kazuto Ioka fights against Aston Plicte. He beats him. Ioka's a good fighter. And then Plicte goes out there and has his comeback fight and loses to Renz Rocha. So Nietz vacates the belt because he doesn't want to fight a guy who then goes on and loses, a pretty clear decision to Renz Rocha. It just looks like a bad decision all around.
Ala Promotions played a big part in his career. Let's put everything into consideration here, Ryan. He's 39 years old. He hasn't fought a top caliber opponent since the Ioka fight. He doesn't hold any world title. To me, the goal here is to make him marketable and prolong his shelf life. Do you think he is in good hands with MTK Global?
I don't know, because we're waiting on him to fight, and he had a fight in Dubai against Pablo Carrillo. I'm not familiar with him. Not saying he's not a good fighter, a worthy fighter, but these are not the fights that he should be having. Nieto should have been fighting all along. Estrada, Ioka was a good fighter for sure. Chocolatito, Cuadras, Carlos Cuadras. He should have been in the ring with all these guys. And it just makes no sense why that wasn't the case. Even if you lose, at least you were there, and that means something. It's way better to have fought the guys and then, like, okay, you get a loss, whatever. But if it's a good fight and you show your best abilities, then to go out there and you're fighting against, I mean, who was he fighting? Juan Alejo, Gilberto Parra, Carlos Velarde.
Yeah.
I mean, Sammy Gutierrez. That's what he was doing during his championship reign. And I like to go out there and say he was the longest reigning champion. So what? He's only fighting, at the Waterfront Hotel. Like, the Chocolatito wasn't coming to Cebu. I'm sorry.
Now, if we would recall, he vacated the belt because he wanted to pursue bigger fights at 115. That was his reason. Do you think it's still doable at this point of his career?
I don't know. How's that going? That decision to vacate the belt. Is he fighting Chocolatito or Estrada next? Is he fighting? Is he fighting at all? So I think it's possible, because at 39, maybe someone will take a chance with him and say, oh, he's older and he's not the same fighter anymore. But it seems like Chocolatito and Estrada are going to go make some more money, together. And Srisak Kit, he'll get another shot because he's still a guy at 115 and he has that relationship with Matchroom and DAZN. I don't know what's going on with Nieto. At this point, I'd be okay just to see him fight Jake Paul, anyone. Just get in the ring and just do something. Yeah. Just let people know that you still exist, because it's out of sight, out of mind. And I mean, he's been training. I see the videos on Facebook. He's been training with Ala Villamor. And I mean, he must be in amazing shape right now because he's having like a 6-month training camp.
Do you think Donny has something left in his gas tank to give the likes of Jeremy Lancas, Juan Francisco Estrada, and Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez a run for their money?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he has something. Yeah, because, it's not like he's been all these recent years, getting wasted out in the ring, getting beaten up and stuff, because he hasn't been fighting. So, yeah, he better have something left, because the last time we saw him in a real fight against a real top guy, Ioka, he had Ioka, who was, I think, a pound for pound level talent on his bicycle, and it got to the point where Ioka, who was an amazing combination puncher, said, listen, I can't stand toe to toe with this guy. I have to box with him. So to me, that told me that Nietz was still a very serious fighter. Nietz doesn't get out of shape. He takes care of himself. I know he likes to go riding his bike up in the mountains. I think he has something left, sure.
For our next segment, we turn it over to our colleague, Boyet Sisa.
Thanks, guys. Mga ka-rounder, ano ba ang connection ng boxing sa politika? Ako, madami. No, may mga boksingero pumasok sa politika, may politikong ginamit naman ang boxing. Okay, nung nakaraang Miyerkules, tinalaki na ating mga kasamang sila Nisi at Ryan ng mga atleta na pumasok sa larangan ng politika. Ito naman, ang mga politikong ginamit ang boxing sa kanilang pag-angat sa politika. Now, for years, elected officials have used celebrity boxing as a public relations tool. Now, some did so to regain relevance, while others utilized it as a strategic decision that will further their political careers. Ngayon, noong March 31, nung taong 2012, now 12 months or more or less a year before being elected as the leader of Canada's Liberal Party, si Justin Trudeau stepped into the ring upang kalabanin ng isang kontrobersyal na politiko sa isang celebrity boxing match. Now, the bout, which headlined the 5th annual Fight for Cure charity event and raised more than 200,000 Canadian dollars for the Ottawa Regional Cancer Foundation, pitted Trudeau, at that time a member of parliament for Montreal's Papineau riding, against conservative Senator Patrick Brazeau. Now, the stakes were high. The loser will have to wear a hockey jersey with the opposing party's logo for a week and also have their long hair trimmed in a public display in a House of Commons foyer. Kasi noong panahon na yun, pareho pong mahaba yung mga buhok nila. Now, maliban sa pusta, the charity event carried a significant political intrigue. Now, at that time, Trudeau was best known as the eldest son of Canada's renowned Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, and was a little more than a small-time politician in Canada's third-ranking political party in the year 2012. Now, si Justin Trudeau ay magiging Prime Minister ng Canada pagdating ng taong 2015. At that time, was still had to prove himself as a serious political player. And itong boxing match na ito ay magiging hudyat sa kanyang pagsikat to eventually rise to Canada's highest office. Now, si Brazeau naman became one of Canadian Parliament's youngest senators at 37 years old. He became controversial because he was criticized for stating his intention to accept a seat in the Senate and concurrently remain national chief of the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples, or the CAP, thus collecting 2 publicly funded 6-figure salaries. Now, in addition, he faced allegations regarding the spending of funds received by the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples for Aboriginal health programs. So, pera, no? Disbursement of monies, collection of monies ang naging allegations kay Brazeau. Now, Brazeau was 4 years younger than Trudeau. He was a black belt in karate and he is a Navy veteran. Now, he is also medyo mas maliit siya ng konti kay Trudeau by several inches. Pero si Brazeau ang napisil na maging 3-1 favorite to win that bout. Now, sa simula ng laban, punong-puno na kumpiyansa si Brazeau and he came out strong. Panahing atake kay Trudeau with a barrage of heavy shots, controlling the pace for the first round. However, kinaya naman ni Trudeau, and as the fight went on, the overconfident Brazeau became visibly exhausted. So napagod na. Pagdating na round 3, Trudeau was in complete control, peppering his opponent with his jab and punishing him with repeated blows until the referee stepped in at itinigil na ang laban. Now, as for Trudeau, his political ascent has just begun. He became a media sensation and revitalized the Liberal Party after being elected its leader in 2013. He would go on to defeat conservative Stephen Harper in the 2015 elections. Now, while Trudeau was using celebrity boxing to help launch his political career, other politicians used it to remain relevant. Kumbaga, para mapanatiling matingkad na kanilang mga brand, na kanilang mga pangalan. Now, in 2015, former Republican presidential candidate Mitt Romney ng Amerika challenged 5-time world heavyweight champion Evander Holyfield, sounds familiar, right, to a boxing match in Salt Lake City in Utah in the United States. Now, for 2 rounds, Romney, who was 68 at that time, and Holyfield, who was 52 at that time, faced off in an exhibition bout that could best be described as a light sparring session. Romney, who weighed in at 179 pounds, traded friendly blows with Holyfield, who registered at 236 pounds on the scale, with the proceeds from the event going to Charity Vision, which is an organization that provides surgeries to heal blindness. Now, Romney trained for the fight at the Fulmer Brothers Boxing Gym, where he received help from Holyfield himself. He walked out to the song "I Will Survive" and did his best to do just that, bobbing and weaving around the heavyweight for the better part of 2 rounds before eventually throwing in a towel in round 2. Now, and we quote Evander Holyfield, ang sabi niya tungkol kay Romney, now for a man who's never got into the ring to box, he can throw a jab, sabi ni Holyfield. He can move around, and I was impressed, sabi ni Holyfield. He is the oldest person that I've ever fought. He's the smallest person I've ever fought, sabi ni Holyfield. And just to end it, sabi niya, and I have got a lot of respect for that. Now, sabi ni Romney, pagkatapos ang nalaban ay di niya naisip na gawin ito nung tumatakbo siyang kandidato sa pagpagulo noong 2012. Idinagdag niya na ginawa lamang niya ito upang bigyan pansin ng kanyang mga ipinagpapatuloy na mga adhikain at ang mga pagtulong niya sa mga charitable organizations. Diba? Nice, nice. O yan, mga ka-rounder, may relasyon nga talaga ang politika at boxing. And talking about that, malapit na naman ang eleksyon sa Pilipinas. Nakapag-rehistro na ba kayo? Rehistro na kayo. Send us your comments and suggestions on our Facebook and YouTube page.
Thanks, Boyet. And that's the final bell for today's episode of Round by Round, presented by Eastern Communications. I'm Nisi Casiano.
And I'm Ryan Sangalia. We're on Facebook at 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on our YouTube channel right after. So like, follow, share, and subscribe now. And also, don't forget to hit the notification bell to get notified about the latest news and the fearless views in the world of boxing.
Boyet Season, Dennis Principe, and Ryan Sangalia are working the fights for you tomorrow. So catch them on the next Round by Round. All boxing, all Filipino, all the time. See you tomorrow.